Okay, we're here. We got this working now the first time around. How's it going, everybody? Oh boy, what a week! All right, so welcome aboard to the American Rail Club Lounge stream, where I'm not going to try to talk as much as I do on the regular ARC stream, so everybody can come in and be able to join us. We had a little bit of issues with Discord again, but we're here. All right. So, to kind of recap the last week, Amtrak has had a change, a shift. I'm not going to say what, or I'm not going to state my opinion for now. I will later on as we get this conversation going, but let me just bring everybody, at least in the next 5 minutes, try to bring everybody on board for what's going on, because Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner, depending on how you say it. I mean, I don't know why people with the name of Stephen put a PH instead of a V, but oh well. Trump administration tells Amtrak CEO to resign amid talks of talks. Amid talks of cuts. But this was back last Wednesday. Apologies, guys, for that little mishap. But Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner, in a statement Wednesday, announced that he will step down from the nation's passenger rail company as the Trump administration targets funding for mass transit systems and other transportation initiatives across the country. And he is stepping down as CEO to, quote, ensure that Amtrak continues to enjoy the full faith and confidence of this administration, the statement read. The announcement, which was titled Amtrak CEO Transition, did not name a successor for Gardner or the reason for the transition. According to three people familiar with the decision who spoke to the condition of anonymity to describe private deliberations, Gardner was asked to resign by the White House, and that seems most likely to be true. An Amtrak spokeswoman said an interim CEO has not been named. According to two people familiar with the decision, Amtrak President Roger Harris will lead the organization until a new CEO is chosen. And as for today, I haven't seen anything new, unless I'm wrong. If you have any links or anything you want to share, be my guest, because I will leave this mostly to you guys. We're going to make this a lounge, and we will talk about this as well. After Gardner's resignation, Duffy said in a statement, it's time for Amtrak leadership to clean up Union Station, criticizing crime and homelessness in our nation's treasures. The thing is that Amtrak did say that they were trying to take back control of Union Station, so I don't know. Let's see. I mean, look, there's more stuff going in on here. And Trump repeatedly proposed defunding cuts of the passenger rail company, including the highly congested Northeast Corridor into California's high-speed rail projects, which he didn't do much of anything to either or. But let's see what happens now. And this has been all over the news now. Concerns about staying in Trump's good graces. Amtrak CEO abruptly resigns from the nation's passenger railroad. So this is more or less the same thing all over the place. And of course, we talked about this a couple weeks ago in our Dark Amtrak live stream. If anybody remembers that, where's my dark gothic? I mean, look, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. Again, I'm not giving my opinion right now. I stated my opinion immediately when this more or less came out last Wednesday on Discord, and I'm going to stick to my gut opinion on that unless I see anything different from right now. But look, we'll go ahead and also show what you guys voted for, because let's put it this way, we put out a poll yesterday asking you guys whether or not you thought this was a good decision or not. Now, if YouTube can cooperate with me, I can be able to get that post and put it on here. Let's go ahead. Here we go. And at some point, there we are. All right. So, special live stream tomorrow on Stephen Gardner's resignation as CEO. Was this resignation a good or bad decision? 41% of you. Let me see if I can move this a little bit more to the right. Or is this the left? At this point, I don't know which way we're going. 41% of you said good. Take the last train home. The Pat Metheny band meme there. 59% of you said bad. This is disruptive to Amtrak. So about a 20% gap. Majority of you saying bad as being disruptive to Amtrak. This is, look, honestly, it's a better split than most democracies at this point. So we'll take it. Most of you believe that this is a bad decision for Amtrak. And look, we can go on and on about this, but I want to go ahead and make sure to give you guys a chance. By the way, I'm going to give you a little bit, guys, more time. Get on the Discord. We have, let me see how many people in the audience. Six people in the audience. So get in there, raise your hand if you want to join on in, and we can be able to discuss this more in depth. And again, I'm trying to make sure that you guys have the time to go ahead and talk, make sure we can talk about that. So let's just make sure we get this all down and started. But yeah, look, statement released March 19th, and we can go into the statement itself from the first source as well. Stephen Gardner. I'm stepping down as CEO to ensure that Amtrak continues to enjoy the full faith and confidence of this administration. I'm so proud of what the Amtrak team has accomplished to bring passenger rail service to more people and places across the country over these past 16 years, and I thank the board for their trust and support. We did a lot together to make Amtrak safer, more modern, and a better travel experience for all the customers. From my start as an Amtrak intern back in the 1990s to ending as CEO, it has been my honor and privilege to lead this great American company, and I wish Amtrak every success. See you on the rails. Amtrak board statement on Amtrak CEO leadership transition. As Stephen departs today, we thank him for 16 years of service to Amtrak. We will build on his accomplishments and wish him every success. We look forward to working with President Trump and Secretary Duffy as we build a world-class passenger rail system this country deserves. And look, I will say this for Stephen Gardner. Let's be fair with him. This guy seems like to be like one of us. I mean, became enmeshed in DC punk scene as a teenager, played bass for the band Lorelei. He formed an experimental music group called Chessie, named after the Chesapeake and Ohio Rail. Come on. This dude's a foamer. It's like this guy's kind of one of us. All right, let's be honest. Okay, we could probably vibe with this guy in a sense. This come on, look at this. He wrote that the project aimed to explore the way the railroads bisect the natural world with machinery. Chessie's music employs tape loops featuring guitar and keyboards in addition to recorded samples. Although the band's aesthetic is inspired by railroads, Gardner told the Washington City paper the band has never sampled a train because that's cheating, quote unquote. So, yeah, look, and I mean, there we go. I mean, well, let's see what you guys think about it. Okay, I'm done talking for right now. Yesterday was apparently Oberon Day, but being that this was the closest that I could get for an Indiana-made beer with citrus, a farmhouse style ale with Galaxy Citra and Idaho 7 hops, made here in the Hoosier State. So let's go ahead. Let's open this up. Guys, just let's stick to the topic for right now. Let's talk about this. Wow, we got everybody in the audience over here. So let's bring in everybody. Everybody is coming in. And again, let's keep it civil. One at a time. Let's relax. And let's be chill. All right, this is the lounge. All right, everybody's invited to speak. Everybody, come on in.
Hey, bud.
There
Doing
we are.
good?
Yep, doing good, man. And everybody in the comments over here, yeah, 13 CEO
I'm on.
of Amtrak, according to David Jackson. Yeah, so, and we'll keep an eye on the YouTube comments as well. If you guys also want to chime in on YouTube, I'll keep an eye on that. All right, guys. Well, what a week. What do you think?
It's been an interesting week.
To be honest, it pretty much mixed feelings for what's going on for Amtrak. Like, I'm pretty mixed on this, you know?
Yeah, I
Like,
say to be fair for most people, everybody's kind of mixed on this.
mm,
Yeah,
When,
I got
when
mixed
I
feelings.
when
Yeah.
I took the actual vote, I was at a 55-45 in favor of it, which is why I said yes, it's probably a good move. It's not the best move, but it's a move that can be made.
mhm.
We'll probably
Yeah,
not know
I
for
have
at
to
least a
agree
few
with you.
months.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing.
Speaking of that,
Well, I'm not going to say anything unless somebody asks, but let's keep this party going here. But
speaking of that, I just sent the first meme of the live stream.
oh boy, we'll open up the memes later on. But let's step to the topic over here. Let's see. Anybody else who wants to chime in on this?
I'd like to chime
I
in
do.
on this.
Yeah, Brightline fan. What do you think?
I think basically I have some mixed feelings. The same thing goes. I have some mixed feelings as well. Number one, it could actually. Let's talk about the negative. It could actually impact Amtrak negatively. And second, there could be something fishy going on with this CEO that resigned. I could be wrong, okay? I could be wrong.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, we're probably not going to know more for at least a few months at minimum. Probably more than a year.
True.
Yeah. We won't know. The thing is, it was abrupt, it was sudden, and I will say this: at least Amtrak in the last couple of years has made a lot of strides and a lot of changes, a lot more quickly than it would have originally have done before with certain other CEOs. But look, let's be honest. I think he did a much better job than most other Amtrak CEOs. And this guy was, look, he started as an intern with Amtrak. I mean, 16 years sticking with Amtrak. This wasn't a guy that went through the ringer or through a revolving door of CEOs or anything like that. He was dedicated to the company. So that I would give him credit on that. And honestly, I don't think the problem why I'm very iffy about this decision is that what's the plan afterwards for Amtrak, especially since it's been doing so good right now. It's been very, I see this as very disruptive to Amtrak, and I don't agree with this decision. That's my point.
Concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as
Mhm.
Lucid Dude puts it in his videos once a month, Amtrak is basically recovered from the COVID lockdowns and all that stuff. So they're on track to break their all-time records. So at minimum, they're in a good financial position. The bad part about it is they own so little track and most of it needs to be replaced that they're going to have to work with the companies that actually own the tracks to get them up to the standards that they need to. But that's going to take a whole lot of work and interconnecting work that I don't see the next
True.
CEO has the ability to pull off.
Yeah,
Whoever they choose.
and that's the problem. The thing is with Gardner seemed, again, he was dedicated to the company. Maybe didn't agree with the guy politically on most other things. I mean, he does live in D.C. or in Philadelphia, and most. I mean, again, he seems like somebody who was kind of one of us. He was obsessed with the railroad. He loved Amtrak, and it seemed that he wanted the best for it. And he oversaw Amtrak through a pretty rough time of getting through the pandemic. And again, I'm being fair to the guy, and honestly, I would be. Yep, we're here. I would be
Who was
really.
talking? Star Force?
No, it's me. You can see the green stuff here, Darius. How's it going, man?
Oh yeah.
But regardless, again, what's the plan afterwards? And if he did this as sort of a sacrifice of himself to give the Trump administration, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna step off," again, we can only speculate of what it is, whether it was something else or not. There's not that much information. Doesn't look like too many people are going into this too much because, again, I guess since Tesla's burning in flames are more important, that's the more important thing right now. But it's ridiculous. But hey, it's what it is. Not our country's own infrastructure, But hey, anyway, yeah. Look. I think
Tesla go boom.
Yeah, Tesla go boom indeed. But I think the problem is that, again, what's the plan afterwards?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's only two possible outcomes. Either A, they go full nationalizations of Amtrak and send it from the pseudo nationalization where it's currently at, and it just becomes an even greater political football for every single administration going on. Or they go down the privatization route, which they're talking about, which that will be popular in the areas where it at minimum breaks even, and everywhere else will just be dead on arrival, which that is not going to be popular. But there's really only no other good ways to dealing with Amtrak right now, no matter which way you go. And unless you're willing to sit down with not only the president, but the Secretary of Transportation is like, look, let's just get all the regulations taken care of and the taxation right and get higher speed rail and faster trains operational. So Amtrak is not the only operator, is the best way of going about it. It's just that is a hard conversation to have that I don't know if anyone's willing to have right now in good faith.
It's just like picking your poison. Pick your poison. It's what it's called.
Yeah. But right now, the privatization can either be the greatest thing that happened or Amtrak's death knell. It's just really comes down to how it's done. Similar to
that's for sure.
Similar to how the UK did their privatization, where it was nationalization with private carriers, which failed on every single aspect because it was done so poorly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't have true high-speed rail or faster options, Amtrak is basically a regional rail that's trying to go across a continent, which that barely breaks even. It can be done right, but it's too difficult.
I will give some light to a recent developments in the passenger rail industry. There are at least a couple of companies that are trying to start up night train services, kind of like what they were doing and kind of like what was being done in Europe at the time. But I think it's called like the Twilight Express or something that's going to connect like the Midwest and the Northeast.
Luna Train.
Yeah, the
Lunar Train, what it's called.
Yeah, definitely what we've seen in the last couple of years, and with our generation now coming of age, we're seeing a lot more of a shift towards rail transit and just transit in general. People want to ride rather than drive everywhere and have a car culture. And to Minor Tree's earlier point to Minor Tree's earlier point of privatization, what we've seen in the last couple of years, and also honestly with everything in history, and when it comes to rail infrastructure in general, and just politics and the country in general, it really more or less comes down more to the morals and methodology of the men behind an idea rather than what idea they're going to do. And whether it's public, whether it's making a company public or privatization or something like that, it more or less comes down to, okay, well, who's actually behind it? And honestly, I it's kind of up in the air with Amtrak. To everybody's point, we can't really fully trust Elon Musk. We have enough reason not to trust him. We think a lot of the other stuff that he's doing. To the other things, it's funny. I don't think they're. Again, it's just weird. It's like, okay, now what do you want to do with it now? Because privatizing Amtrak, as we know, anything here in this country, anything done in this country hasn't been done well by either side. It doesn't matter whether it's Republican, Democrat, left or right. We don't have the right people in charge. And right now, yes, for Amtrak's fault, for all that it's done, honestly, it's been doing quite a lot better than it would have done, 10, 20 years ago, honestly. It's been making the right moves, slower than anybody probably would have wanted to. But because of Brightline and because of other options now coming up across the country and more of a push for not just high-speed rail, but for more rail transportation in general, Amtrak has made a lot of moves to go ahead and not only just modernize its fleet, but do everything that it can to push up and fix up the Northeast corridor, to try to go ahead and fix up things in the Midwest and in other places. I mean, they're doing more than their due diligence, honestly. That's my fair and honest opinion on it.
And to answer David Jackson's point in the YouTube chat, double tracking would make a difference. Yes, it would actually lower the amount of delays that is facing trains. But if you have a faster passenger train put behind a slower freight train, that only does so much. So yes, it will solve some issues, but you're talking triple or even quad tracking high traffic areas just to really deal with all the delays that passenger trains deal with on a regular basis. Ideally, you'd want to have passenger trains and freight trains on different set of tracks, but that would be the ideal, but it's the most expensive option. And if you're going to have to combine them, I would say anything below 125 miles an hour, which is about 200 kilometers an hour or slower, those passenger trains be put on the same tracks as the freight stuff, and then you just have any train faster than that on its own dedicated right of way. That would be the ideal. But night trains, they would work, but double tracking is just solving one set of issues, but not addressing the main issues.
True, that is true. Speaking of that, we got something else that is interesting. The Alaska Railroad might be privatized. I sent the article in the live chat.
Yeah, that I saw about too.
Yeah,
There's been a couple of weird things about. Yeah, go ahead. Let's see if we can bring that up.
Like, I think I know the reason why, because I think they might be doing this because, let's be honest, the Alaska Railroad does need to be extended down to the lower 48 for it can be connected to the rest of the national rail system, you know?
I mean, you
Yeah,
have to
and
connect
if-
through Canada.
I
And
kind of agree, but it has to go for the Yukon territory.
yeah, but if Trump gets his way, he might be forcing Canada to break apart, and then he could just take what he wants.
Yeah. All right,
But
we got
we'll know more when Canada does their elections and stuff.
Economically speaking, yeah.
Yeah, we got a poll up on YouTube for everybody watching right now. How do you feel about Amtrak's future? Simple question, positive or negative. So let me know what you think on there. And I haven't voted in any of the polls. Again, I'm trying to make this as fair as possible and open for everybody just to see what it is. But yeah, it's, and if you feel apprehensive, I mean, well, I'm just going to make it just simple question, either A or B. Not anything in the middle. So let's see what we have there. Either positive or negative. Let's see what you guys think. But there's again, things are moving quickly. To what extent we're going to see, I don't know. We're like we've all said, we'll have to see in a year or two from now. And hindsight is 2020, as they say. It's just a matter of, well, we don't really have a plan right now, and that's a bad thing. To have that and not have any sort of, not even a short-term plan or a long-term plan of where we want Amtrak right now. It is very disruptive, and honestly, this was not a good decision. Again, I don't have to agree with the administration on all things. What you mean? I can have my own opinions. That's not either one or the other. Yes, I can. You can have your own opinions. You can do things. That's not a problem. It's just the issue is that what plan is there now after Stevens ousting?
Yeah, and I've actually ridden on the Alaskan Railroad. It's actually kind of nice.
Yeah,
and a really beautiful countryside to look around.
Oh yeah, no, Alaska's.
I would recommend going on it.
Yeah,
at least once.
Yeah, it's probably up there. Maybe probably better than California. Alaska and California probably have the two best scenery in any state of the union. But I mean, yeah, it's just at some point I do have to go there. But let's see. Let's look at this real quick. And guys, we can go back and forth between talking about Amtrak or here. If anybody in the comments wants to bring up anything, feel free to. Legislator calls for state to sell Alaska Railroad. For the second year in a row, elected officials in Alaska have introduced legislation that required a state-owned railroad to be privatized. On February 22nd, Republican Representative Kevin McCabe introduced House Bill 120 that, if enacted, would request proposals from companies to purchase the Alaska Railroad and its assets. Similar legislation was introduced in 2024, but never passed. I don't even know if it got out of committee or what they did over there in Alaska, or if they voted on it but didn't pass. I don't know. The purchaser would have to promise to operate the railroad for at least 50 years. That's a pretty heavy. That's a heavy contract, 50 years, especially for most of our short-term focused companies now. I mean, that's a long lease.
And gone there in the summer of 2019. Part of that railroad would have to be upgraded to modern standards, so it would not be a cheap buy.
Yeah. I don't think, honestly, this is probably just as kind of pie in the sky as Texas leaving the Union or California leaving the Union at this rate. The railroad itself has been opposed to efforts to sell it. Honestly, if this, this was probably just a sort of pie in the sky idea. They're throwing it out there. If it didn't pass last year in the Alaskan House, I don't think it's gonna pass I mean, come on, that's like what 70% Republican. It's if it doesn't pass with that, it's not passing anywhere.
Oh yeah, it probably not. But if it did, it would get hopefully it end up in a company that are willing to extend it down to the lower 48 for they don't have to keep barging freight up there through the ocean
Well,
because
once you realize
that's
once
more
you
expensive.
realize that once you realize moving stuff by the ocean is cheaper, but due to the Jones Act, it makes it that much more expensive. The railroad would probably take enough supplies at least to places outside of like Juneau in the different island towns and cities, so that would lower the cost of the supplies all around, but it wouldn't get rid of a lot of it because of how isolated Alaska is. It's treated more like a large island because of how expensive it is to move stuff around.
Oh yeah. But also, I got something super funny. It's not a meme, but y'all remember how Amtrak was ranked the #1 place to work at in America for the
Oh,
last
no.
couple of years? Guess what happened? Another railroad took that title from Amtrak. Do you know what the name of the railroad called?
Oh boy, let's see.
Patriot Rail. It's called Patriot Rail.
Oh
Interesting.
God.
Here we are. Okay.
I just sent.
Yeah, I got that. Let's look at that here.
What is that?
I've only heard of Patriot
Like,
Rail in
liter-
passing. This is Here we are. Okay, Patriot Rail Company earns prestigious 2025 USA Today Top Workplaces Award. A premier U.S. operator of short line and regional freight railroads, transloading and other rail services, is proud to announce that it has earned the prestigious 2025 USA Today Top Workplaces Award. The award honors organizations with 150 or more employees that have created people-first cultures. This year, more than 42,000 organizations were invited to participate. Let's see over here. Determined by authentic employee feedback captured through confidential survey. Top Workplace Award catapults a company's culture strength on that. Okay, let's see about Patriot Rail. Okay, so Patriot Rail is a short line regional rail service provider in the United States. 31 short line railroads, 3 excursion railroads, support services for customers, including transloading, railcar storage, real estate, and logistics planning and assistance. Okay, so there we go. Let's
What?
go to the website and see what a little bit more about that. Your National Railroad Network partner.
But
Does anybody know where they're based out of?
It said on the thing it was in 24 states, but I don't know where they're located.
Yeah, I know. I see that, and here's the map over here. You guys can kind of see. Let me see, Patriot Railroads, railroads, and Patriot excursions. Oh, they have something, I guess, in Tennessee over here. So yeah, interesting. Yep, based in
Also got
Jacksonville.
some other
Okay.
other interesting news that me and Genesis were talking about yesterday. But you know, the state of Nevada, they're actually talking about building a regional rail system now. Like, literally, let me send the link.
Yeah, send the link.
speaking
I
of
think
that,
we didn't talk about this before.
No, I just sent the link in community chat.
Okay.
Also, one of the guys had to reset his Discord, by the way.
All right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
you can
that.
let him back in.
Oh man, let me see if I can go ahead and get the. Let me go ahead and archive this and get that going. Alrighty.
Yay for
Don't worry about it. We're
archive.com.
going to invite you back in.
Okay. Here, we'll let him back in. Oh yeah, this is Darius. Yeah. Anybody else has anything to
Sorry,
share?
guys.
No worries. No worries. Welcome back. Darius, what do you think
Can you
about?
hear me now?
Yep.
Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah,
loud
we
and
can
clear.
hear
Can you
you.
hear
I'm
us?
here.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Sounds like
Yes, we can hear you.
sounds like I am.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear us though?
I guess not.
Hello.
Hello?
I don't think you can hear us.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Discord.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Discord.
I don't know what's up with Discord.
Okay. Give it another restart, man. See
Now
if
when
it's
I
working.
hear you,
You
Can
can't.
you hear us?
You can't hear us.
He
That's
can
not-
hear. He said he can hear us.
Okay, so you can't hear us. Yes. No. Can you? Can you not? Can you hear us? Yes. Sort of.
Hello?
Whether
Jazz
can or
hands.
not, let's continue on.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is loading right now, so I'll bring up the
Alright.
article here. But let's see. Yeah, regional rail transit bill advances in.
Why don't I hear anybody else here speaking?
I don't know, man. It's that's something on your end. Give it another try.
Problem is,
Try restarting it.
Yeah, restart it again.
Worst case scenario, restart your computer.
but I think I know the reason why Las Vegas and Nevada are doing this.
I did.
This is because of Brightline West, you know?
Oh,
Because
that has to
they
be,
just
yeah.
started construction. Because at the construction of Brightline West, they're starting to think about, you know, that you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Alrighty, so here are Carson City, Nevada. A bill seeking a study of possible rail transit systems. Okay, so it's a bill to study. Rail transit systems for the Las Vegas and Reno areas has advanced out of a Nevada legislative committee. Assembly Bill 256 would create a regional rail transit advisory working group to conduct a study of rail transit in Clark County, which includes Las Vegas, Henderson, Nevada, and Washoe County, which includes Reno. The group would consider the needs for rail transit in the two counties, as well as potential funding sources, what public and private entities should be involved in the planning process. Yeah, so it seems like they're doing a public-private partnership. That's what they're looking towards. And again, this probably has to do with, pretty, again, Brightline is going to be there in Las Vegas. They're already building to go ahead and connect to the Los Angeles area. So this has to be done at some point to be able to connect people in a much easier fashion.
And that's like, and that would be connecting like 90% of all of Nevada's population together.
Yeah, I mean, what they have,
Ideally-
it's like everybody's in more or less Vegas or Paradise, and then there's, Reno.
Then there's
and a
Reno,
couple-
then Carlson City,
Yeah.
and then all the towns that are on the fringes.
That's about it.
But if you get to Reno, then you could just curve it like 90 degrees and then go down to Sacramento and then just keep it going down to Oakland and then over to San Francisco. And then you can connect to the California high-speed rail on the northern end.
All right, let's put in some context here for
If
everybody.
it ever gets built, that is.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear everybody else here again.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
got
can
your stuff working?
No
Good.
thanks to Discord.
Okay, no thanks to Discord. Okay. Alrighty.
Okay.
So for everybody some context right now who's watching or listening in the future. So you can see here's Vegas. Here's where it's going to connect along the I-15 corridor over to Rancho Cucamonga over here. There you are. There's Rancho. And it's in the LA area. And this is again, the LA area is basically the size of a European state, more or less, or European country in its own. I mean, it's massive. But here's Vegas, and again, there's not too many places that are very populated in Vegas. You have Vegas, you have Paradise over here, more or less the same cities when people talk about it. But there you
I
are.
can't believe this.
But yeah, here's Vegas, and Reno is all the way over here, and there's some other places around here. But yeah, those are like the two biggest cities. You have the massive Las Vegas area, and then all the other cities around over here. But yeah, that would be, again, from Reno, as Minor Tree was saying, you can connect over to Sacramento, San Francisco. Avoid Oakland right now because Oakland is like probably one of the worst places to be right now in the United States, or San Jose, and there you can go. You can connect to the rest of...
I said go through Oakland. I never said just stop there.
Go through. There you go. Emphasis on through. Do not stop. Do not pass. Go. Do not stop at Oakland. Just keep going.
No, if you're gonna stop there, only do so at the stoplights and to take pictures.
I wouldn't even stop at the stoplights, man. That's a way to get yourself killed.
Yeah. But if you go back to the map, you can basically have the highest speed rail go from Reno up to Salt Lake City, as well as from Las Vegas. So it's like you can start connecting high speed rails mainly to the large cities in the west over there. You just have to break through all the mountains. But that right there would start digging into the passenger plane routes, especially for commercial in that area.
Oh yeah, and that's the cool thing about it. I mean, this can be done. It can absolutely be done. Let me take a look here at
It's possible.
yeah.
It's all about how far away is it. Basically, there is bus service, but limited.
Well, it's also that and the speed of the trains in question, because the faster the trains are, the farther the break-even point is for trains versus commercial planes. Because right now, due to fuel economy standards, the ideal top speed for a commercial plane is Mach 0.72. So the closer you get to that, the farther that break-even point gets. So right now, if you had a train going only 125 miles an hour, Orlando to Miami is barely breaking even. But if it got up to 200 miles an hour, you could go from Miami almost up to the outskirts of Atlanta in terms of time.
Yeah, those economies of scale that you get into in terms of capacity, how many people you're moving, per day or per year, and plus the speed. The higher the speed, of course, you can cover more ground, which is why a lot of high-speed rail has a significant amount of market share in places. Again, you're trying to find places that are too long to drive, too short to fly, between the 300, sort of 250-ish to about 500 miles. Yeah, that's sort of the sweet spot for high-speed rail. Which there are so many city pairs
for
that
the
fit
most
that.
part.
700.
For the most part, the high-speed trains beat driving around the 60-mile mark, and the planes beat it around the 400 to 600-mile mark, depending on the speed of the train.
What? 16 miles? It's where
60,
already
66.
It's about, if you drive a car for about an hour at highway speeds, any shorter than that, it's better to take the car. Past then, it's a high-speed rail, but once you realize high-speed rail has like a 15 to 30-minute delay from driving versus flying, it's closer to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So the trains get, so it's like you get in the train, you have an hour head start, which is why you can have an average speed that's slower and still have the advantage. It's just down to the idea of what is the top speed, but
And
also
it
the
does-
cruising
well-
speed of said train.
Yeah, and that doesn't take into account of all the jamming cars. All the cars. Remember that picture I sent you when I was another my day in Miami's daily traffic.
Yeah, I mean that's just the reality of car culture in
And
America.
I was thinking flying cars, and I finally thought of this as just a futuristic fad once and for all.
Flying cars are never going to
Flying
happen.
cars
That's
just
that's
go-
that's not happening.
Well, the problem is if you look it up, flying cars have been around since the 1920s. It's just they've always been, at best, a mediocre car and an early plane combo that's combined at the price point of a decent starter plane. So they're very expensive up front. Then you need somebody who is both has a driver's license and a pilot's license, which are few and far between. And any damage to the plane part essentially makes it a underpowered car. And
that is
planes
true.
are planes are very expensive to maintain.
and vice
so-
versa.
Yeah, but
And vice versa. If a Karen hits you behind with her SUV, you're going to be out of flying.
yeah. And what's really bad is like you can go to a car part store and get a little light bulb for the inside of your vehicle, and it'll cost you 25 cents. That same light bulb in a similar package, but for a plane, would be $3. All because it says the FAA tested it and said it's good for this many times.
Actually, we already have a functional flying car. It's called a helicopter.
That too, but but there have been multiple
Yes.
companies that have made actual flying cars that are road legal and airplane safe. It's just when they cost as much as a new house, they're impractical for the average person.
It's an aerodynamic design compromise. That's what's the downfall.
Yeah. Speaking of this, there
from-
was
of
the
flying cars.
speaking of flying
Cars
cars,
are meant to be cars are meant to keep themselves. Why? To keep themselves on the road and sturdy.
look, just to talk about the logistics of flying cars, and this was funny enough. There was a video about a month ago that came out on YouTube, got about 1 million views or so. Special operations vet commutes by flying car from rural off-grid home. So, number one, this is a guy that probably has some experience, some common sense, a little bit of knowledge of how things fly, being that he's an Air Force vet. But here you go. He's look, and just to go through this real quick, and this is why this sort of stuff is not going to happen. Number one, this is more of like a quadcopter / drone, because the way that this works, all the computers are modulating the amount. He's just putting it just like any sort of drone, like a DJI or anything like that. You're inputting in where you want it to go, and the rotors, the quadcopter is calculating where it's going, and it's it's also calculating in terms of wind speed and everything else. Yeah, it's a lot less manual than a helicopter, because helicopter you're inputting in thrust and yaw and all that sort of stuff, and that's a lot more manual than, let's say, something like this guy has. But again, here's the thing about this: it's about a couple 100 pounds. It's underneath to a minor tree, saying this one actually doesn't need a pilot's license, apparently, since it's light enough to skirt under those FAA regulations. But look,
the ultralight classification.
And that's the thing.
Yes.
It's an ultralight. But he's
if it counts as an ultralight, all you need to do is be able to control it, and you don't even need a driver's license, much less a pilot's license.
Just be at least
It's not recommended, but you can do it.
Yeah. And look, here's the other thing he has. He has to have an emergency kit on there, which,
I'm right now
most people don't really have an emergency kit in their cars, let alone, let's, figure out the logistics of that if you get stuck somewhere. And especially if you're commuting off in, rural, what is this, Colorado, I believe? No, Washington's North Cascades. Yeah, that's even, woof. But yeah, look, and look, he can only be by himself. It doesn't fly too far. But that's the thing about this. Like, the logistics of this is just not something that's going to be feasible for the normal, average, everyday person. It's
ludicrous.
It's not an actual replacement. It's still a lot of money just to get a helicopter and also just buy a car and all that into one. Is it one big expensive vehicle that nobody's going to afford?
Yeah. It's cool, but
looking at that and knowing roughly how much stuff like that is, that's probably $70,000 to $100,000 new.
Probably more than that, yeah.
Knowing the battery system and stuff like that, that's probably 2 hours of flight max.
Yeah, and that's probably the heaviest part of it, is that battery pack, followed by the actual human driving it itself.
I mean, if it was designed to be a hybrid system where you ran a gasoline generator and then it just runs the electrical system, that could probably give it more range with less weight, but that's a lot more complexity. But to answer David Jackson's point, he's an ex-Oaklander. We're sorry you had to live in Oakland.
Oh.
The high-speed rail through the Sierras is not going to happen. Possibly, but it's just building really big tunnels that are on par with other tunnel projects around the world, such as the ones over in the Swiss Alps right now, or over, where's another big tunnel project? I'm trying to think.
Probably the ones happening over for the SC Maglev in Japan. That's at this point it's not happening by 2027, but hey, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Let's give YouTube some love over here, since we've been kind of in ourselves over here. So let's hello everybody. Georgia, Zukov, Osman Hossein, Hadabuser, Gustavo, David Jackson, Richard King, Heartless Fiend. Hello everybody. Tomokun 1776. Let's take it one day at a time. And how's everybody doing tonight? That's a good way to say it. That's all you can live, is just one day at a time. You can't control tomorrow. You can only control today. So that's a good way of thinking it. Let's see who else. Mr. Marshmallow. There we are. But yeah, to David Jackson's point, ex-Oaklander. I mean, it's kind of sad that Oakland used to be one of the best, very similar to Detroit. Used to be probably one of the best places in the United States, bar none, and then just a massive decline afterwards. It's just sad. Very sad.
It is sad when you do think about it.
Go from the steel belt to the rust belt.
I do got a funny meme and an Amtrak meme.
All right, let's get some Amtrak memes on here. Let's see.
Okay.
And Genesis using the meme yesterday, and I roasted
Oh boy.
Genesis with this.
It's cooked.
Oh god.
Oh man.
Now that'll cook booty. That'll cook
Yeah.
booty.
Dude, that's one roasted locomotive if I seen one.
It just needs a tiny bit of R&R and a few repairs, and it's bright as rain. At least that's what Union Pacific keeps saying.
Yeah.
mean,
Speaking of repairs, this
in
is
the middle
whoever put this over here. New Jersey Transit slashing fares amid whack-a-mole sinkhole problems. Plans to reopen part of I-80 eastbound. Now on hold after the new sinkhole opened, forcing the closure of the westbound. Oh man. Yeah, we're,
Yeah,
we see
the
we're-
sinkhole in New Jersey.
yeah.
They've been happening all this week somehow.
Look-
Oh yeah, that's for
shoot.
sure.
Probably frost heaves.
Speaking of commuter rail, Brightline,
Let's see where
Florida, just got to deal with Tri-Rail as well. They're going
Oh
to
yeah, that
expand.
right.
Yeah, that's been something they've been talking about for years for having the coastal link, and they do have them now coming into the platform, if I remember correctly, into Miami Central. So that's happening. It's just a matter of now getting them up at the actual Biscayne / US 1 corridor, and having that now as another extra connection to have. So it's just, again, this is something that should have happened like maybe a year or two after Brightline opened. The fact that this is taking so
Oh
long
yeah,
is
it
just
should have.
it's just silly. But I mean, hey, it's the United States right now, the modern United States. Unfortunately, with the bloated managerial state that we have, it's just what it is. I don't think Doge is going to really fix anything, because Georgi Zukov asked that earlier. What I think about Doge, it's funny. I don't think it's really going to do anything in particular to really fix the needle as much as it needs to do here in this country. And honestly, a lot of this stuff is getting stopped over in the courts. Again, to what degree will happen? Again, it hasn't even been 100 days yet of Trump in office, but
And
who
legally
knows?
speaking, all Doge can do is find the possibilities of corruption, grift, and all that stuff, and then bring it to the president and have the president do anything about it, because Doge legally cannot do a thing about it. All they can do is bring it up.
Yeah, the executive branch can control, because basically Congress controls, the set amount of money that a branch or an organization or one of these executive organizations can get. The executive branch technically controls them and says, yeah, but you can't use that money for anything. So he'll just hold it up over them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of that the MOPEC disapproved of the modern U.S. I just sent the meme.
Let me see.
It's super funny.
Oh man, MOPEC disapproves of this message.
I know.
Oh man. That's have you guys heard that now there's like a whole bunch of rail theft now, like a record amount of rail theft?
What?
Oh, yeah.
You just mean an average railroad in California?
More or less. This is one way to go ahead and deal with railroad theft, is that right there.
Jeez, talk about railroad theft. They just stole $3.1 million worth of Nike shoes in Arizona and California. That's something that I could see a Floridian do.
I think that's a California problem.
Let me see. Here we go. Oh yeah, here. Let's let me get these two articles, because this was I was going to talk about this the last stream, but since we have some extra here we are. Here we are. Man, this is crazy, but oh man. I don't know why this is taking forever to load. Yeah, a lot of it is in California too. That's another thing. While that article is loading, it's got a funny title too. American Association of Railroads says cargo theft costs Class 1 railroads. This is just the Class 1 railroads more than $100 million in 2024. That's a 40% increase. Over what? I don't know. I think probably over a year. I'm assuming, because it doesn't say. It just says 40% increase. Over what? Not the best journalism, I guess, but okay. Railroads also say suspects are increasingly armed. Wow. increasing the risk of violence when attempting an arrest. Well, this is going to be we're back to the Wild West, folks. Here we go. The Wild West returns. Train cargo theft is on the rise. This is from March of 2025 of here. This is happening today and now, folks. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. Goods in transit are another target in the modern twist and an 1860s tactic. Train burglaries are on the rise. Los Angeles triumphs, of course. It's in LA. And here you go. The $2 million worth of Nike stolen, as was mentioned. Here we go. Let's go ahead and put that up here.
Here in the U.S., thieves making off with millions of dollars worth of Nike sneakers, targeting freight trains.
Something you would not see in the morning
Here's more
today.
I mean, Nike sneakers.
The alarm after multiple freight train
I don't
robberies.
understand why.
Shipments of Nike sneakers.
Wow,
in
$2
remote
million
areas of the
worth of
desert
sneakers.
Southwest.
And again, those
The
are
most
all very.
recent heist, January 13th in Perrin, Arizona.
It's such an
Thieves
inflated
allegedly
cost for.
used a
You
Oust truck.
know, the shoes are made in the same place as $30 shoes. Look at this. Nigel Sylvester Air Jordan 4s. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is something my fiance will know because she likes collecting Jordans. She hasn't collected one in a good bit, but look at that, worth $400,000. Wait, just this one? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, let me see, 2,000 pairs of shoes. Okay, maybe the 2,000 pairs of shoes are worth $400,000. That's more believable. Okay, 11 were arrested.
California robbers boarding a train.
There you go, California Highway Patrol.
$100,000 worth of Nike.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
Nikes
but
are worth
how
200.
long until the
This U-Haul
judge
in
lets him
Anaheim,
out with no bail?
Oh, they still
do
under.
that in
It's
Texas,
$899, so they get away, right? Each.
Yeah, if they did that in Texas,
Yeah,
they'd
but-
probably get shot.
Yeah, I think we need more of that.
And
This
the
is
survivors
crazy.
should probably be shot again.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Where
No,
are these
it's
shoes going?
this is crazy. Oh man. Look at that.
These
No
shoes
more than
going
1 in
all over the
10.
United
Wait,
States?
1 in 10 theft attempts result in arrest. That's another thing. When it's 10%, you have a 10% chance of catching these guys or at least arresting them. I mean, people are just gonna become more brazen. It's like, wait, so I have a 9 in 10 chance of getting away. I have a 90% chance of going ahead, breaking open a train, and stealing all its goodies. That's not good. I mean, if you
And you don't have to pay tax on it.
yeah. I mean, at some point, we do need a more of an El Salvadorian type of solution for our problems here in the United States. It's like, look, you're gonna have to.
Well,
Either that or
gonna have
capture
to-
them and then
But
send
then again, you have
send them to the El Salvadorian prison. There you go, and then they'll stop.
No. We do the traditional way. You're gonna go out into this quarry and you're gonna break rocks for 12 hours a day.
Oh, there we go. Hey, we're gonna make it more traditional.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. It's the more traditional
you
way
need
of
a
doing it.
brutal punishment that doesn't fall into the category of cruel and unusual punishment. Like make them work their tail off.
Well, they can start working and building out the railroads.
Yeah, rebuild
And
the
if they
rivers.
don't like
Back to
that, they
the-
can break the
there you are.
rocks.
Hey, that's a old
That's an
fashioned
old school
way.
way of being arts.
Old school problems require old school solutions. If we want to go back to the Wild West, Wild West solutions we're gonna need. But man, yeah, back to the Wild West,
speaking of-
according to Noel. Yes, exactly.
Speaking of that, for short line news, Amtrak required a short line in California, and another railroad in Texas got bought up by another railroad company called County Line Rail. So, two different short lines that got bought up by bigger short line companies.
Yeah, we're probably gonna see more consolidation, more short line companies come up. I mean, that industry is starting to really look, especially with all the tariffs going on and the reshoring efforts that are happening. To what extent that most of these companies are going to do it still remains to be seen. But there's definitely a demand for it, and there's definitely going to be now more of a direction that we're seeing now with the building of not just reshoring, but again, when you have factories here in the United States, you have to move those products, and the best way to move them is via rail. So there you go. Not via rail or via rail up in Canada. That's probably the worst way by rail, but we're talking about through railroads.
Well, just give them a little star and say, "You tried."
Yeah.
You try and you need to rename it.
Okay, so Star Force linked this article over here. RTA warns of doomsday cuts to CTA, Metra, and Pace service in the wake of a $770 million fiscal cliff. This I heard about. I don't know if they're going to be bringing a half penny tax or forcing that upon people like they're trying to do over in San Francisco. But yeah, on top of this, they're now desperately trying to build out their infrastructure at the same time as well. But your budget shortfall threatens transit access for 1 in 5 Chicagoans. $770 million physical clip. I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you see the amount of absolute insane amount of money that's being spent, and the level of quality and it's just operations that we have here in the United States don't at all match the amount of money that's being spent.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mass disconnect in that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a problem. Okay, for the billions of dollars we spend. Look at this, $1.5 billion needed to address fiscal cliff. Okay, what's it going to do? That's the problem. It's, you guys have been spending so much money. The equipment is still old. The tracks are still old. The whole thing is still falling apart. But you're spending, again, like we saw before, what was it? More than 50% of the money is being used in human resources. Now, I mean, not the human resources department, but they're not spending it. There seems to be a bloat. Somebody's salaries are too bloated, and there's not enough work being done. Not nearly enough. It's unfortunate.
And this is why we're seeing what we're seeing happens, and this is why we're seeing what's been going on. It doesn't take rocket science.
Yeah. I think part of this is probably
straight up don't take rocket science.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is that again, a lot of these organizations were being held up artificially by a lot of the federal money that was being pumped into it, again, artificially. And because of now, with the new administration, because of Doge, that whole entire faucet is being closed up. And now you have, what was it? Like, it was like in some other country, like, no, I think it was Australia. That Australia colleges now had to call, or the Australian Parliament had to call in an emergency session because now their colleges they're not getting enough funding. I mean, it's crazy. Why is our taxpayer money going to Australian colleges when our own college students, our own American students, can't even afford college and they're strapped with trillions of dollars in debt? I mean,
I think one of those colleges had multiple millions of dollars worth of U.S. AID funds coming in, and all of a sudden, hey, we're shutting that off.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. This is money that we should be spending in our own country, in our own infrastructure, with our own people. That's just as simple as that.
Like, it's simple. It's not rocket science, Am I right?
Yeah. Adam Busser says they also had some good news in the Massachusetts with the MBTA. Do you want to send us a link?
Too.
Yeah.
A new station's been opening this week.
Everything in USA should be done by NGOs. It's something that all NGOs can do.
Yeah. Here's a Chicago-related meme, though, that somebody put. A friend who has worked in Chicago his entire life tells me he's not that violent. He's a tail gunner on the school bus. It's obviously not real, folks, for anybody's freaking out about that. But yeah, this is what trains are going to need now. And once you bust open one of these would-be thieves like a piñata with the 50 cal, then they'll stop. Okay, that's the minute like one of the thieves just see that happening. It's like that Escape from Tarkov movie, like that level of violence. It will stop. Okay, that's not that hard.
Yeah, but I think that's a turret from a British Lancaster, so that would be the British 303 rifle. So it's a 30 cal, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, I'm stepping it up. I want let's get a Ma Deuce on there. Get a good old M2. Hey, it's worked for more than 120 years now, so why not?
Well, anything made by the patron saint of firearms, John Moses Browning, is good enough for you.
Yep.
It works. All right.
It works.
CTR Lee is late over here. What did I miss? You missed a lot. Speaking of, okay, it's 9 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
Let's say we bring this in at 9:15. Anybody want to say anything else about Amtrak or anything that they want to put in? Put in your links below.
Oh yeah. The availability only got about 3 to 4 weeks ago. We got 3 weeks actually. We're close. Like,
into
they're
service?
supposed to be built to avail liberties come into service.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that
So
Stephen Gardner. Is it Stephen or Stephen? Okay, I'm pretty sure it's Stephen, but why do we spell Stephen with the PH? I don't get it. I've never gotten that, but anyway, it's kind of sad that he's not going to be on there. And I feel bad for the guy. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Look at that. As an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
he interned for Amtrak at Washington Union Station, measuring train speed and checking conductor locks. Dude, come on. He's one of us. Okay, come on. This is like a level of autism. Look at that. Gardner attended Hampshire College studying physics, acoustics, political science, and transportation. Graduating Bachelor Arts. Yeah, come on. This guy is an Amtrak autist. Okay, it's just sad he had to go that way. If I feel bad for him.
The best
I
case
do
scenario is they realize they really need him, and then they bring him back in like a year.
He should be back. I mean, I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is like he. There was different ways of going about it. Again, we don't have all details. We're not a fly on the wall. We can't tell what exactly was going on, what messages were being put in through the Trump administration signal chat, or what Vance memes were being shared, or whatever else was going on behind the scenes talking about Stephen Gardner. But unfortunately, we're just seeing the results, and we're just kind of left up in the air. But speaking of that, of Amtrak, according to everybody here on YouTube, how do you feel about Amtrak's future? 67% of you say positive, 33% say negative. So, which is odd. I mean, then again, it's only 18 votes, so I mean, it's not a high level of votes coming in. But I mean, like we can still extrapolate something out of that. I mean, for us to go ahead and say that this was a bad decision, but we still feel positive about Amtrak's future, I think that's saying a lot about how we feel in general about rail transportation. That despite Amtrak losing Stephen Gardner, or Stephen Gardner stepping down from Amtrak, that there's at least some sort of air of positivity that at least the company or Amtrak will be in good hands, or at least going in a good direction, and it's still going there because of the way things are heading in this country with more infrastructure and more transit now being in demand.
Right. And it took almost 70 years before we got to this point,
Yeah.
70 years.
I mean, look,
way too long.
He almost got the company more or less, solvent. So I mean, somebody was saying here that he didn't even get that much. Let me see if I can end the poll over here. Congressional hearings. It was disclosed the CEO received a $600,000 bonus in addition to his $500,000 salary. Seems he received bonuses throughout his tenure. I mean, it seems high, but I mean, look, if you compare that, I mean, I would remember the president of my college, FIU, which is a public research college in South Florida, earned about that much. So if a college president is earning more or less more than what the CEO of Amtrak is getting, it's not that much in comparison. Compared to like a lot of these CEOs. I mean, look at GM, or look at Stellantis, or any of these other car companies that are completely and absolutely failing, or any of these other companies. They're commanding, $20 million bonuses and whatever else in stock buybacks. I mean, for the job that this guy did in transporting 34 million people within a year and breaking Amtrak's record, I mean, you got to give him kudos. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I mean, he did his job. Let's be fair. He did his job.
Yeah, Heartless Thing one asks the question of what if we exercise shareholder activism in publicly traded railroad companies? That is a double-edged sword because they're going to listen to the people who hold the most amount of shares. So if you want to get your voice heard, you're going to need to own 50% plus one additional share to actually get anything done.
We need Amtrak NFTs.
And that would be millions, if not billions of dollars per company. So if you really wanted to go down that route, you're either having to convince everybody to invest heavily into buying those shares or starting up your own company. And I'm of the opinion, get the regulation side reasonable, get the tax side reasonable, and start your own company. because that's the quicker, easier, and cheaper way of getting things done. Because if you're better than them, they'll either improve or they'll go out of their business, and you can buy them up their assets.
Yep.
It's
That's right.
it's a 5-10 year process, but it happens every single time as long as you have pure capitalism.
Yeah,
right now we have
say,
crony capitalism.
Yeah, because the problem with that, and adding to your point, you're gonna have some corporate raider type like a Carl Icahn or a Warren Buffett go in there and absolutely make a disaster out of things, and they'll go ahead, especially somebody like a Carl Icahn, a corporate raider like that. He's just gonna go ahead, take it, flip it, and return Amtrak back to the 1970s or worse. So you don't want somebody like that in charge. Again, it's less to do with whether we privatize something or not, and more to do with the morals and the methodology of the people behind a certain project or a certain that's just what it is. And right now we're at a country that's really bankrupt on morals, and that's an unfortunate thing. We'll get better, but it's gonna get worse. And I honestly think I think America's best days are still ahead, but we're gonna be going through a really, really trying time. Either way. Yeah. And I think
for sure.
Whatever you guys think of Trump or anything like that, I don't think he's gonna fix much of anything. I think it's too little too late at this point, and it's just a matter of how soft the fall is going to be. It probably soften it up. Let's just be honest.
Trump's first term Trump's first term was a B plus at best. And assuming he does just as good as he did last time, it would be halfway decent. But when you're talking about all the presidents before then getting like C's and D's consistently for decades, a B is at least halfway decent.
I mean, at most, I give him a C minus, maybe. At this first term, I don't know. It started optimistic, and then he just kept doing things that were just like the strikes on Syria. Yep. Okay, I get it. You shot a couple things into an empty airfield, but I mean the messaging about it, dude. Like that's people voted for you not to go ahead and start another war in the Middle East. And granted, he didn't expand upon it, but I mean, there was just little things here, and not going ahead and locking her up, which was the biggest thing. And that's the thing. People want to have accountability in our government. And if somebody does something seriously wrong, like what Clinton did, there should be consequences. And that's the problem, is that in this country, you can, if you have enough power, you can do things and get away with it. So everybody's learning the same things. Like, wait, if you can just do things, why can't the little people also do things themselves?
Oh, yeah.
Or if something's done and you're getting punished, why did that guy get like house arrest for like 2 weeks and the person over there who's a nobody got 20 years?
Yeah, I think another example I just heard about, and I remember reading about this, that somebody investigated Jeff Bezos's tax returns, and he only paid like an effective tax rate of like 0.9%, basically a hell of a lot less than everybody else pays in taxes. And what did the IRS do?
That's knowing and understanding the tax code, which is 300 to 400 pages of taxes, and then tens of thousands of pages of exceptions, deductions, and things like that.
Oh yeah, granted, yeah, for sure. And if you know all the tax loopholes, and you can go ahead and hire a great tax attorney, you can get away with basically whatever the hell you want. And if you know how to put into different shell companies, LLCs, offshore companies or whatever, yeah, you can get away with effectively paying no tax, especially if you say, well, everything is a nonprofit, and you can make profit off a nonprofit company. Just because you're a 501c3 nonprofit company doesn't mean you don't make money. Okay, that's a very euphemistic term, we could put it that way, of a nonprofit. But regardless, so instead of the IRS going after Jeff Bezos or investigating that, they investigated the people who investigated Jeff Bezos's tax returns. So I mean, it's the IRS. So look, if anything out of this Trump administration is good, maybe he'll abolish the IRS. I doubt it. It's funny, but let's see if that happens.
It looks like Dump Trucker made it for the last 5 minutes.
All right.
Anyone's in.
Okay, let's let Dump Trucker in. Where is he? There he is. All right, here we go. Come on in.
That's like a whole 30 minutes, didn't I?
You're still here, man. You come on. You You got. We'll add on 5 minutes, man. Anything you wanted to say about the topic about Stephen Gardner's ousting of Amtrak? What do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm curious how he got forced out. How his forced out story is selling right now. I don't know how.
Yeah, and there's not too much. Unfortunately, we don't have too much to piece together except for this is basically the biggest source of whatever Amtrak said. And there's an NPR interview with, I believe, Jim Matthews, CEO of Rail Passengers Association. Basically, more or less saying what we've been saying before is that Amtrak has been used as a political football. That's another thing. Was there a way that Amtrak or Stephen Gardner himself could have positioned Amtrak to be a lot less affected by political tension or anything like that? Yeah, but the problem is that you're also dealing with the culture of Amtrak, which has been entrenched again with a lot of DC politics and everything else. It's very hard to move that company, especially given it's like 85% unionized. So it's very hard to make quick decisions without the union being in there. And look, here the union's didn't go ahead and back him up or anything like that or try to defend him. He resigned himself. He wasn't ousted or forced out. He amicably resigned. Again, in good faith, saying that the administration. Here we go. Let's see. Here to ensure I'm stepping down as CEO to ensure that Amtrak continues to enjoy the full faith and confidence of this administration. So he's sacrificing himself in a sense. For the good of Amtrak. To what amount of good faith the administration will put in because of that gesture has yet to be seen. But again, it's let's see, and something is probably going to happen pretty quickly because knowing Sean Duffy and his past record right now is very very quickly for the couple of weeks he's been as Secretary of Transportation. He's probably been the most active Secretary of Transportation that we've had in quite a bit, at least the most forward facing of any of them. So let's see what happens.
But the problem is Amtrak is pseudo nationalized, so there's only so much you can prevent any political interference without either going fully nationalized or fully private.
Yeah, and that's,
so he was stuck
if you go
between
private, the problem is that private railroads would probably be like, we don't like you anymore. We don't have to follow the rules now.
Yeah, but he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and so he made what he thought was the best decision. Like we mentioned earlier, we'll probably not know whether it was a good decision or bad for at least a few months.
Well, it's going to be probably a few years. Probably give him like a year. Probably going to be a few years.
We
see the full effect.
Yep, will still remain to be seen, but yeah, I would say let's give an F in the chat for Steven here and a toast and wish him the best and wish Amtrak the best. We wish us all the best over here and hopefully for better days in American rail transportation. But yeah, let's some F in the chats here for Mr. Stephen Gardner and for all his at the very least for all his service and his autism for Amtrak. Let's give a toast for him. All right, let's do that. He was one of us. All right, let's
Alaska Railroad. They want to sell the Alaska Railroad?
Yep.
Wow.
Stupid idea.
I brought that up earlier.
Yeah, and I'm now just reading through it.
Crazy, ain't it?
It's kind of interesting to connect Alaska Railroad to the United States.
What the shit is under I-80?
St. Paul.
Yeah, you missed a lot, Dump Trucker. This was a good discussion we had. You missed all the fun stuff, man.
I've been eating dinner.
You're gonna have to go back and watch the video later.
Oh, I got something really funny too. Dimitri, I'm about to send something in the live chat that y'all probably gonna be laughing your butt off at.
Okay, hold on. Wait a second. Okay, wait. Okay, this guy's definitely one of us. All right, hold on. Wait a second. Here's what I found, and I'm surprised this only has 2K views, but here we go. This is from Stephen Gardner's own channel on YouTube. Maybe you want to. Should we go out with this, or you guys want to just hear it?
He did fish.
Tessie, Intercity Live. Here you go. A very rough practice session of Intercity from Manifest on our first day of trying to work out how to play new songs live. Here we go. I don't think we'll get copyright strike for this, but let's. Come on, look at it. This dude was one of us. Come on.
It has to be. I want me. I've been working too much.
Speaking of, look at the.
Is that a
green drive? More like green drive.
Is that a dot or a Gibson ES? I think.
More like green drive. Green drive.
Hey,
you know what green is?
Guys, look what I did.
All right, guys, let's. You know what? Hold on. Here, I'm sending this in chat. Guys, go ahead and give this give Steven's video a like over here and tell him we sent them love from the American Rail Club, and we hope he puts out more videos over here. Just let's go ahead and give him that.
No, Dimitri, look at this. I just sent him a live chat. You're gonna laugh at this.
Live.
All right, hold on. Let me see. Oh man. Charge for taping fish to ATM machines. What? That's just random.
That is
it's random but funny.
Alrighty, guys.
This is why we cannot have nice things.
I know. Alrighty. It's 9:17. I think this is a good way to go ahead and end this over here. Thank you all for joining on board on this episode here.
And the 5 minutes of it.
Yeah, the American Rail Club. We hope to see you all next time. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, which you probably all are, but if you're not, please subscribe and like, at the very least, also like this stream so we can get more up there. We're gonna be getting more out of here, so this is good. So anyway, guys, thank you all for joining in.
We have arrived at the station.
We will see you all.
We want to keep subscribed, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, take care. Godspeed. See you on board next time. Take care.
Bye bye.
Peace.
Bye. Peace.